Hello Sagittarius, welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Sagittarius is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over or meditate upon or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is going to be a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I might provide. And remember, Sagittarius, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And right off the bat, we get the Queen of Wands. And you know what this is? It's one of your power cards. It's one of your, well, superpower cards. We have to ring the bell. Right away, this is excellent. See, this is a card that represents the sign of Sagittarius. This is the mutable fire energy, right? It's the Queen of Wands. And I feel like right now you're so close to the kind of the final stages of something, right? I feel as if you've sustained your energy. I feel like we had that cardinal rush of fire. I feel like there was a long period of just really hard, intense work. Now I feel like things are kind of winding down a little bit, and I almost wonder if you're like looking for ways to wrap something up. Yeah, looking just for something that's like something that you've been working on a long time, and now it's just like, how do I finish it? It's like you're composing a wonderful song, but it's just like, how do you end it? Do you just abruptly end it? It's like a good television series, right? They never really get the endings right, do they? I can think of a couple examples off the top of my head, but we won't go there. But I feel like that's the most difficult part. And that's why, you know, the series finale of any of our favorite shows or whatever, or even the last song on an album, or even the greatest song you've ever heard, but then how they end it is just, I wish it was more. I wish it was, you know. And I think in the audience, we always have a different expectation, right? But imagine if you're the one creating that, right? And maybe you have an audience, maybe you don't. Maybe your audience is your pets, your plants, your people. Maybe it's just you. But you're looking for the perfect way to finish something. If I've been sustaining this, but how do I really bring it home, really bring it to completion? Okay. And so I don't know exactly what this is that you're doing, but I feel as if we are looking for like, okay, we've been pedaling the bicycle for a long time. Eventually I got to pick a spot to kind of, you know, to where's my destination? How am I going to bring this one home? And it feels to me like you're kind of, it feels like you're composing something, but it doesn't feel like a piece of art or a piece of music. It almost feels like an event, right? It almost feels like it's this really kind of big, inclusive thing. Now, we got to put some more cards around this one. I love this card. I feel like right now you're somebody who is, you're trying to keep this fire energy going, even though I think that you can feel that we're starting to get toward the end of our trip here. And we're trying to sustain it, even though it might be time to wrap something up. Okay, and I think because we don't really know how to wrap it up, or maybe it's even a feeling of, I don't want it to end, that we're trying to lock ourselves into that fixed fire energy, right? We're trying to keep ourselves in like a holding pattern because we don't know where to land, for one thing, and it just feels good to be up here doing this, flying, creating, composing, orchestrating this big event, whatever you're doing, right? So let's see, let's continue on. Another queen. Now we got a Queen of Swords. There might be a Gemini person in your life. It could very well be that a significant peer, friend, family member, somebody about your age, might be a Gemini person, and they might be tied up in this in some way. Okay, but what the Queen of Swords is also telling us is that sometimes it's important to take a step back from everything. It's almost like with the Queen of Wands, almost like we're trying too hard. You know, when we really want something so bad that we're just working so intensely for it, or to figure something out. sometimes what we need to do is just take a step back, you know, and allow some space for this new energy to come in. Allow space for the good idea of how do I end this, you know, beautiful television series that everybody's loved from the early 2000s. You know, how do we finish it? And sometimes it's just a matter of less is more. Sometimes it's a matter of just taking a step back and letting something breathe, right? Or even walking away from something for a time, not thinking about it. Not going off and meditating about it or praying about it or trying to work it out on paper or figuring it out, doing the math or pondering or any of this. Just forget about it. Forget it even exists, right? And do something else for a moment. Allow space for it to, I don't know, kind of figure itself out or for that idea to come to you, you know. So the Queen of Swords is really about us rising above the emotional energy in a situation and looking at things from a relatively objective viewpoint. But really, I feel like it's just kind of, I don't know, when Superman just got frustrated with us, you know, regular humans, and he just sped off and out up into space to nowhere and was just kind of brooding for a while. Remember that? That's kind of what this card does. You know, it's just we're wrapped up in something and we're just so tied up with it. There's a frustration in the Queen of Wands. And so this is the card that just kind of takes off. Just flies straight up a few miles and just hangs out there, sits on a cloud, broods for a little while, and calms down and maybe gets distracted by something else. You know, maybe starts having a good time up there has forgotten all about this world down here. Yeah. Let's keep going. Let's see how this energy might develop. Oh, now we got the Fool. Yeah, well, that's a big part of all of this, I think, is this Fool energy. The Fool energy is very natural, right? The Fool energy is very free. Fool energy is very carefree, right? And worry-free. The Fool doesn't really get entangled in things. Right? The Fool can stumble into other things, but the Fool is very much just moved by what's going on in the moment. So in a way, the Fool is really very distractible. But I feel that this Fool, especially down here beneath the surface, it's kind of like there is this part of you that doesn't want to be responsible for this, that doesn't want to be tangled up in all of this, that doesn't want to be intertwined and enmeshed in whatever this complex situation is. I don't know if it's a work thing, family thing, if something just with, you know, your personal life, with your art or your career, I don't know, your spirituality. The Fool is one of these cards that, of course, obviously says just go out and play. Just go out and allow yourself to be distracted by something else. Right? To the point where you forget about this. And maybe there's some sort of conflict going on between you and this other person. Maybe they're a Gemini, maybe not. That's not really the point here. But it could be that there's some clashing. There's a little bit of fighting between these two cards. They're both very active cards, air and fire, right? Air and fire, they're not exactly enemies as far as the hermetic elements go, but they don't really get along well either. They kind of have this ability, fire and air, when they get together, it just makes things bigger. You know, whatever the mood is, it's going to be just intensified and heightened when air and fire get together, right? We think of there's a little flame and then you give it some oxygen and it just starts raging, right, until the fuel's gone. And so sometimes this can be a partnership that you're involved in that is very volatile. Not that there's really arguments between the two of you, but that the two of you maybe are just really pushing this energy to an extreme. Maybe that does become conflict, honestly. But with the two, since they're both queens, I feel like you both have the same heart. Yeah. I feel like it's a family member or a spouse or something, because I feel like the love is there. I feel like you're both on the same page as far as what you want, but there might be this kind of maybe just a battle of wits even about who has the right idea, that who's got the right vision, the right path forward here. Okay? And so, you know, the two of you get together in a room and you're both just getting so excited, and the volume, I feel like when you talk to this person, maybe it starts really low. But then we just start getting louder and louder and louder the more we talk, because both of you want to be heard. Okay? And both of you have these very powerful personalities, I feel. Okay? But I feel like there's somebody like that around you who's involved with this. But back to the Fool anyway. I didn't mean to get distracted with the Fool. The Fool is this kind of naturalness. The Fool is not trying to force anything. The Fool is basically 100% nature, right? Natural, versus the refined kind of culture energy that we might see in, let's say, the Magician. So to me, this card is saying that you really long for a return to simplicity, that you really want to kind of get back to just this, almost just like an easy flow of life. You know, that there's a lot of stress in your life right now, and it's kind of like, not that there are problems, it's just the stress of even all the good stuff, right? It's just so much stuff. And I think you're a very busy person. I think you've got a lot going on, a lot on your plate, and it's all relatively good stuff, but it's a lot. So the Fool sometimes is like this longing for us to go back to a simpler time where I didn't have to worry about anything, you know? And I was talking to a friend yesterday about, on television, they used to have this, Friday nights they had TGIF, where they played all these fun kind of sitcoms for you know, family kind of sitcoms and for kids or whatever. I was young. And it was called TGIF, and they had all these shows like Step by Step and Family Matters and, you know, all this stuff. Maybe I'm showing my age a little bit here. But I was thinking about that. I was like, wow, yeah, Friday nights, you know, that was the party night. That's when you could stay up late because you knew the next day was Saturday, and some of us didn't really have to wake up on Saturday mornings. We could sleep in a little bit, at least when we were little kids. And we could sleep in on a Saturday. So it's Friday is just like the school week is done, and it's just, you know, I can forget about all the stuff. Sunday afternoon, that's homework night, you know. But for Friday night, it was just, there was this freedom. There was just this, I don't know, there was this euphoria almost of having all of those responsibilities, at least temporarily, lifted. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of what we're longing for a little bit here. We're looking to return to a very natural state of just flowing with the universe, rather than really striving to create all of these different things and putting our intention into every little thing. Some days we just want to sit back and just, whatever the universe brings me, that's what I'm doing today. You know, whatever opportunities seem to arise, I'm just going to go with the flow. Somebody calls and wants to do something, I'm going to go it. There's a problem to solve, I'm going to go solve it. It's not us setting an intention and striving for anything. Sometimes we have to yield. And I think that's part of the Fool here. And the Fool is, of course, Parsival. The Fool is the one that is, you know, I read in Joseph Campbell this morning, the Fool or Parsival is that figure that is so overjoyed by the sounds of the birds, right? It's just this innocence. The birds singing just brings such immense joy to Parsival. But then he'll get his bow and arrow and he'll shoot one of the birds, and it'll fall down dead, and he'll be just devastated, crying, right, and just overwhelmed with grief for this, you know, poor creature. And then same thing will happen again. Then he'll hear the birds, and he'll be overjoyed by the other birds singing, and then he'll do the same thing again. And it's just this, it's this constantly recycling kind of energy of, you know, of intense joy, intense grief, intense joy, intense grief. And that's what the Fool really does. Is just stumbles into everything, stumbles into one thing after the other, and it's a wealth of experience. The point is, I think, with the Fool, that nothing sticks. That we can go through all of these different combinations and entanglements, but we emerge relatively unscathed from that, which could be a problem, because maybe this is saying also that we don't learn our lessons sometimes. Yeah. Well, let's keep going. Let's see how all that might fit together. Behind us, we have an Ace of Cups. So that's the Ace of Cups that's uniting you and the Queen of Swords, whatever this is. This, I think, is the shared common purpose that you have with this other person. If it is a Gemini person, if it is a sibling, a spouse, it could be a close friend or something like that. But this, I think, is the shared mission. This is the love in the heart. There's a unification here. And really now we have Parsifal and the Holy Grail, right? We have the Fool on that holy quest. So I feel like there is a particular mission. There is this thing within you that you feel you have to manifest. But I wonder if right now we're just not sure how to close it out, how to wrap it up, where to go sort of from here. We have an Eight of Pentacles up at the top, and of course the Eight of Pentacles is steady, consistent effort, you know, which is a little bit different from the Fool, right? Because the Fool is not steady and consistent. This is we're attentive. We're focusing on the details. We're very meticulous. We can care for something in the best way possible. We're attentive to the needs of others and of ourselves and of the situation as a whole. But the Fool is the inconsiderate fool, right? The Fool doesn't take into consideration anything from anybody else. It doesn't have any concern for those little details. The Fool is just stumbling into one thing after the other, right? So we have this juxtaposition between, am I caring too much? Am I paying too much attention to the details? Am I trying to be too hands-on? Am I micromanaging? Or do I just go completely hands-off and I'm just absent? I'm just on vacation and it can figure itself out, right? So we have these two extremes about how you're going to really manifest this Ace of Cups. Now, the Ace of Cups can be anything, but it's still in seed form. It's not yet manifest. What is the future position? Well, I hope it'll be the 10 of Cups. Well, we've got the High Priestess, and that's quite nice. So now we have the Fool on the holy quest for the Grail meeting with the Goddess energy. Okay? And I think that Goddess energy is really the enlightenment of both the positive and the negative things that we sometimes don't want to realize. I think that this is really showing us where we've made mistakes, showing us where we have really excelled in this path. Okay? So I think that by trying to find a balance between really not giving a you-know-what and giving too much of a you-know-what, between those two extremes, I think we will find, this kind of psychic energy. We'll find our lunar aperture, right? The moonlight kind of waxing, and we'll have this increase of knowledge, of perception, of gnosis, of clarity. Yeah, but I feel like right now the Fool might be a little bit more of what you're feeling, because maybe what we're really looking at is this is where you're at. This is above everything on the path of the Dove. This is the conscious energy. Meticulous, focusing on the details, micromanaging, right? Every droplet of water that we give this tree has been perfectly measured, right, and planned out. Over here, exact opposite, okay? So I feel like this is where we are, and maybe this is where we need to be. So if we can bring the scale back a little bit closer to the Fool, maybe not all the way, but a little bit closer to the Fool, then maybe there will be a little bit of a compromise between these two cards. And if these two are you and somebody else, these two could be two conflicting parts of your own nature, right? Your kind of creative will, and then of course your rational energy. You have all this force and fire in your natural Sagittariusness, but then your rational mind is kind of up here thinking, well, we've got to pay attention to every single detail, right? High Priestess in the future position. I think that's wonderful. I think this is the illumination of the way. Okay, I think that this is the Goddess kind of showing you the pathway forward and exactly what and where you need to go, and showing you, like I said a moment ago, things that you have not seen, like maybe lessons that you haven't learned. And then also I think there's an element of praise really for the things that we have accomplished and how far we have gotten. But there's a revelation of lessons that we haven't learned. And there's a revelation, I think, of that Eight of Pentacles. That's kind of our behavior. And the full moon likes to kind of show us the worst parts of our own human behavior, right? We think of like, we think of a werewolf, you know, and the full moon kind of becoming this beast, right? So the full moon shows us kind of that beastly part of us where we've been maybe, we've been behaving in such a way that is, the causes of which might be a little bit below the threshold of consciousness, right? So let's look at the mystery card. Well, no, I misspoke. Let's select the mystery card. And then let's move on to the Path of the Serpent. So this is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. And it's just going to go right here. Tiny Bob Ross right there on top. I feel a lot of energy in this reading. I feel like I've just had like 10 cups of coffee or something. For some reason, I just feel all wound up with this one. And I feel maybe that's what's going on here, you know, is there's this... We all need to take a breath, right? We need to let the fool breathe a little bit and let's just take it easy. If you have a prediction for that card, put it in the comments. We're going to go to the Path of the Serpent. And I'd like to ask for your subscription. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It is totally free. It doesn't cost anything. And it helps out the channel, and I do appreciate that. I really do. So let's look at the general energy now with the Path of the Serpent. We got the 8. See, the 8 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups. And I feel like these are... One is kind of causing the other. The more we get involved in all of these meticulous details, it's almost like we're trying to control everything. You know, we're trying to kind of micromanage, and we feel like if we're not understanding the way forward, I just need to try harder. It just means that I have to just look closer and get more closely entwined with this life, with this thing, with whatever it is. But I feel like that's causing you a little bit of grief. Here's that 8 of Cups. This is the state of almost exhausting our emotional energy. It kind of is like the Ace of Cups has developed to kind of a state that we don't like, right? That this, where things are now, we can't just abruptly end them. We can't just say, oh yeah, this is it, I'm done, this is the finish line, because we're not happy with it. So this is the idea that, yes, we need to make some sort of further progress here, but maybe we don't know where or how that's going to come about. Thankfully, we've got some good major arcana here. And I like that the Fool and the High Priestess are in similar attitudes of receptivity. They're just very open, right? I love that about those two cards. It brings their energies very, very closely aligned. So the 8 of Cups, I think, we're starting to feel almost a little bit of pessimism here. You know, the more we get wrapped up in these details, the more it kind of feels like I've made so many little adjustments that I don't even recognize this thing anymore. You know, I don't know if you've ever made a song or you've made a piece of art or you've done anything like that. I have one album of music that is buried in the archive somewhere. Made it on my computer, you know, a little piano and that sort of thing. But I remember making that music and I was up all night just making these little adjustments, tweaking little things. When I was mastering the audio and stuff, just changing little things, adjusting little things, and really thank the heavens that there is, you know, on the computer, you can save something and then you can make all these changes. And if you don't like it, you can just go back to the one that you saved before, right? I kind of wish we could do that in life sometimes, where it's just, I've made so many changes to this that I don't even recognize what I've done. And there's no way to work backwards to undo each one. So we're kind of in this state where, have I meddled in this thing too much that now it's kind of ruined or it's unrecognizable? Right? That we have been so hands-on with something that we didn't allow it to naturally grow on its own, according to its own nature. That we tried to control and direct every aspect of this thing, right? And so now we're in that 8 of Cups. But let's see what's going on next. Oh my gosh, there's the Art or Temperance card, your other power card. this now is, I think, the High Priest is showing us the way forward. The way forward is to invoke your superpower, your ability to navigate between the extremes. So if we've been extreme Eight of Pentacles, maybe you go extreme Fool for a day or two, but maybe we find a balance between that. Maybe we realize that the path forward in life for you right now, in terms of your relationship with this thing or this person or whatever it is, your relationship with it has to be one of a strategic, like, mixture. We think of like you're making a soup or something, right? You don't just dump a bunch of salt in and say, yeah, that's probably more than enough. Because you can always add more, but you can't take the salt out of it. At least I don't know how to do that. So we're very careful. We think, again, less is more. We do a little bit at a time. If it's not enough, we can do a little bit more, but incrementally, very small increments. Okay? And I think that this is the strategy, and this is the way that you need to approach your people, your life, your projects, your work, whatever, your school, whatever you're doing, whatever this is about for you. We need to approach it delicately with just little changes at a time, a little bit of effort. Right? We're always testing the waters. We're always testing the waters. And if it's about the relationship, then we have to be careful about how we interact, how we relate to people. We don't want to come on just absolute fool, because then people think we don't care about anything, we're acting very inconsiderately. We don't want to be Eight of Pentacles either, because then it's just like we are micromanaging. So we have to be strategic. We have to be just aloof enough and just hands-on enough to have this kind of strategic balance, right? And this naturalness and this flow to things. And I think that, this is your superpower. And I think that this is very, very important for you right now. Let's see what the obstacle to some of this is. I bet it's going to be some swords cards. No, it's the Hanged Man. Interesting. The Hanged Man card in the position of the obstacle or the difficulty. First of all, I feel that the difficulty for you is that you've already sacrificed so much to get where you are now. You've already put so much of yourself into this. It's like Odin has been on the hanging from the tree for, 9 days or something? It's like you get 8 days in, and then you just, I'm done, you know? And it's just kind of like, no, you put all of this effort into it. You've put all this blood, sweat, and tears, all this time and energy. You're not going to quit now, right? No matter how eight of cups we feel, we're not going to quit now, okay? I think this is also showing the difficulty for you to release a little bit of control, right? Because I feel like we're trying to find the way to really bring something to fruition, to really finish something off and kind of put on those last details and really bring something home, you know? And it's hard for someone who's so used to driving the car. Everywhere you go, you're driving. 24 hours a day, you're driving the car. Every day of your life for years, you're the one driving. And then suddenly somebody says, hey, I'm going to drive. Get in the passenger seat. Have you ever done that? You're sitting there white knuckle on the seat and you're just like, put your blinker on. No, you're going too fast. No, you don't want to turn there. Get in the other lane. You're still trying to drive because it's so hard to release that control and just roll down the window and look at the sky and just enjoy the breeze and let somebody else drive the car. It's not easy. But that's what the Hanged Man is kind of saying, that maybe even we need to relinquish some of our control, maybe to that other side of ourselves. Maybe to that side of ourselves, like the Queen of Swords says, a little bit detached, has risen above all the emotions of it, and is just a little bit detached from it. Maybe we need to let that kind of unentangled part of ourselves take the wheel, right? Hanged Man, what's the final outcome here? Well, another Sagittarius card. This is Mercury in Sagittarius. We're not going to ring the bell because it's not technically your power card. This is the result of your power. Okay? This is what you can do with your power. And it's Mercury in Sagittarius. It's Mercury being able to, as fast as Mercury is, right? Lightning fast. Instantaneous. Mercury is so fast that it seems like Hermes, Mercury, the magician, really, can be in many places at once because it's just so fast. So this is you being able to kind of instantaneously understand all possible worlds and the results of all possible actions, and therefore you instantly know the answer, which way to go. Because in this kind of metaphysical way, you've already explored every option. You know the result of every path. You know every timeline, every universe, every world that could be built here. So, and therefore you instantly know the direction to go. So I feel like this is the promise that insight will come to you, where you will know the direction, but we just have to kind of let go a little bit. We've got to let a different part of ourselves or a different something take the wheel here, and not try to get a little bit out of that Eight of Pentacles. And the answer will come, and we'll instantly have the answer. Okay, let's look at the mystery card. How much do you want to bet it's going to be the Star card? I think the Star really is what we need here, because we're talking about the High Priestess being that kind of inner illumination, right? This goddess energy kind of showing us where we've kind of gone wrong, or kind of explaining some of the lessons to us that we should have learned, or revealing to us kind of where our mistakes might lie. Okay, so there's this inner illumination, and then by the end of it, we have the certainty, the flash of insight about where our path is. Well, to me, this whole process is Star card energy. Okay, if you have a prediction, put it in the comments. Oh, look at that. Oh, it is the Star. Look at that. Ah, I did it. It's exciting because I used to get it right all the time, and then it dipped down where I wasn't really tuning into this card very well, but now it seems like it's happening a little bit more than it used to. But anyway, the inner illumination comes first. First, we have to be open to that and allow Spirit to show us kind of what's going on inside. And that inner illumination then, we can project outward, and it will show us the path. It will be like a flashlight on the ground. It will be like just the path is the sidewalks lit up, like in that one Michael Jackson song. We'll be able to see where to go. But we need that inner illumination first. And see, that's why the Star has two containers, two vessels of water, spiritual water. One is for us, and one is for the path in front of us. One is for the rest of the world too. I feel like this is also us finding our gift and then giving our gift away. But in your case, I feel like it is that inner illumination, that gnosis, and that leads then to clarity and showing us a very clear way forward. Yeah, very, very good. We're going to do an extended reading too. If you want to stick around, there should be a link up top. There's one down below. New readings for Sagittarius every Wednesday and Sunday, 6 a.m. Chicago time. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It is totally free. Doesn't cost anything. And leave a comment. Let me know where in the world you're watching from, especially if this is your first time here. Give a shout out. We love to have you. Thanks for joining us. Become part of the family, I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you, and I love you, and we're all in this together.